So what's your biggest, mistakes that you've made or obstacles you've had to overcome in the fitness industry in the last sort of 15 years you've been doing it?
Being blind to your own blindness, I suppose, and obviously what is Dunning-Kruger? First rule of Dunning-Kruger Club is that you don't know you're in it. And so whenever you get started out, it's like you don't know what you don't know, and you're unaware that there are systems and processes that are available to you. And it's only whenever you start to develop yourself as an individual, which transfers into the business, that new ideas start to open up to you and you start to become more open to them and receptive to them. And again, in the early days, like, it's impossible to know that. All right, you can go to people for guidance, but a lot of the time, what I find, and obviously, I coach and mentor a lot of fitness professionals, what I find a lot of the time, regardless of whatever I tell them, they're still going to want to do it themselves, and sometimes you maybe need to experience the pain of going through it yourself in order for it to truly sink in as a lesson. And so, I suppose there's almost a balance to be had to that. Obviously, you want to avoid making all of the mistakes or most of the mistakes, but at the same time, you still need to experience some of the pains going through them so that the lesson really sinks. And it's unfortunate that sometimes the only thing that people experience is pain, and then they tend to just drift off and they're like, you know what, it's too hard, it's not for me, and then they leave, and they may be talented people, but then at the same time you might get people who sort of I want to say just coast their way through the fitness industry, and then they come up against some sort of resistance, and if you haven't had any experience through it, well, then you're not going to be able to work your way through it. And so there's a balance there to be had between both, I suppose.
If I could just add to that, like, I think one of the biggest assets and one of the biggest killers is ego and your natural enthusiasm. So, as Lenny was saying there, that Dunning-Kruger effect of thinking you know more than what you actually do can hinder you, but it can also, at the start of your fitness industry or when you're beginning, it can actually help you, because you're going in completely blind, as Lenny was saying, and you're just sort of going, I want to help people, this is exciting, this is amazing. But then you have to have those obstacles, those things that, as Lenny was saying, hit you up the face, force you to stop, reflect, what am I doing wrong? How do I overcome this obstacle? And for us, I think it probably happened maybe 7-8 years in of just running around, chasing our tails, blindsided to what is potentially out there in terms of support and help. So yeah, that's a vital lesson. But what I would say as well is it's helped us in terms of our mentoring, because we can then go, these are the mistakes that we made. We don't want you to make those same mistakes. And if you are going through that, we've been there, we've done that, we can hold your hand through it.
I think probably another huge lesson that I would take away, or at least that I would share with aspiring fitness professionals, is that stay in your lane, in a sense of don't fall into the trap of trying to figure out or assume that what everyone else is doing, and assuming that they're doing better than what they are, and that you're doing worse or that you're doing better. I think either way, making assumptions in general can crush a lot of people, because you might fall into the trap of thinking that everyone is focused on you when in fact they're not, they're actually focused on themselves. Or you might fall into the trap of thinking that everyone's doing better than you or way worse, when in fact most of the time is like people are coming up against their own little battles, or how they project it into the world in terms of their social medias. You might look and think that you're way behind, and that may get you down, but in actual fact is like, just the important thing is just show up and do the work. And it's like, even for your own self-esteem, you'll know that you're putting in the graft, and that's all that is important. You'll know that you're progressing and that all of the right metrics are being hit. So what I would say is, don't focus on so much what other people are doing. Just stay in your lane, focus on what you're doing, and as long as you are doing the right things consistently, well then you're going to get to wherever it is that you want to get to.
One for me would be actually realize that running your own business is going to be difficult, especially when you're coming from a standard maybe 9-to-5 job. Maybe you've went to university because your parents have pushed you into it. You're doing a degree or a master's in something you've no interest in, but realize that there's a lot of work ahead of you if you're starting your own business. And there's many different ways that you can get into the fitness industry. You can be self-employed, you can be employed, so you don't have to go it alone. But what I would say is that it is a roller coaster of emotions. It's a challenge. It's something that when you start a business, it never leaves you. Even when you walk through the doors at home, it's always going to be on your mind. So with that, realize that if this is something that you want to do, you need to be all in 100%. You can't just go, oh, I'll just do this thing on the side. It's just not possible, because at the end of the day, you have an opportunity to impact and help hundreds, if not thousands of people. And it's an amazing way to live, and you can give so much back, but just realize that it's not going to be easy.
And just to piggyback on that as well, so opening a business is a crash course in personal development, right? And if that's not something that you are willing to get on board with, for example, like obviously we bring through a lot of trainers through the academy and so on and so forth, and I start to say to them, look, you're going to have to develop yourself as a person, because ultimately that's going to develop the business. And so what that means is you're going to have to get attention on you. You might draw some criticism as well from other people, and that comes with the territory. And if that's not something that you are willing to get on board with, if that's not something that you're willing to welcome, well then here's the thing, like you might want to think twice about opening a business. And that's the reality, right? Yeah. That is the reality, is like you have to get on board with the personal development aspect of it, because that is business development. And like I say, it just comes with the territory.
This isn't a mistake, because I think we've been really good at this, but one thing that I would sort of say to people is make decisions fast. It's ever evolving. Fitness, business, both together. And if you procrastinate, if you overthink, you will be caught in analysis paralysis, and then you'll never make a decision, or it's going to be too late. Or as we sort of like to do is, if we don't make the decision will be taken out of our hands. And I think it was a member of Congress in America, Colin Powell, says that everybody wants to have all the information at hand before they make a decision, but basically you only need 40% of the information to actually go, right, this is right. So trust your gut instinct. At times, make the decision fast. Whether it's right or wrong, only time will tell. But even if it is wrong, you can then react and pick up the pieces and go again, because by doing that lesson, I think you'll feel quicker, but you'll also get to where you want to go quicker as well.
Again, piggybacking off what PJ mentioned there, if you talk to anyone who has been in any way remotely successful in a career in fitness, and you ask them, were you aware of all of the steps? The answer is going to be no. I know for a fact in our journey, we had a vision of what we wanted and the direction that we wanted to go. But I mean, it's been an absolute roller coaster trying to get there. And it's been decision after decision, course correction after course correction. So yes, there's staying on a certain path, but just know that you're going to get derailed. Now, the worst thing, again, that PJ mentioned, is getting stuck in analysis paralysis and trying to make things perfect before you take the next step. Understand that it's never ever going to be perfect. I don't think at any time during our career in the fitness industry conditions have been perfect before we pulled the trigger. So we, like when we opened the gym, we weren't ready. When we opened the academy, we weren't ready. The franchise, the events, like none of that we were ready for. But what we basically done was pull the trigger, announced it, and then once we announced it, then we started to develop our systems and processes in order to cope with the demand of the thing. But if we had sat there and waited until now is the right time, it likely never would have happened. And sure, yes, we made a lot of mistakes in the process, but like we keep saying, we learned from those. And so I would much rather fuck shit up and make all of the mistakes and learn from them, in which case then you're going to be making progress faster than sitting there in analysis paralysis waiting for perfect, in which case then it's never going to happen.
Like how many times do you hear people going, I've got this idea, like I want to build it out, I want to flesh it out before they do anything, and then it just falls by the wayside. Life gets a part of it, where it's, you know, find some accountability, put it out to the world, you know, tell people you're going to do this thing, and actually, guess what? Do it, jump. And if that's in the fitness industry, that could be creating a new program, and then you might go, right, oh, no, I want to build it out first. No. Tell people you're going to do this thing, see if there's interest. If there's interest, then you know that you have something you can build out and flesh out. So, get out of that analysis, sort of paralysis type parameter.
Yes, speak it into existence.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, people have all of these fucking great ideas and everything, but that's like generating the ideas is one thing, but executing them is another. And at the end of the day, you don't get paid for ideas, you get paid for execution. So speak it into existence, hold yourself accountable, make yourself accountable to someone else, and act upon it. Like there's no point, like great ideas aren't going to win wars, it's the execution.
Yeah. Another one for me would be environment. And that's basically the people that you have around you, from family, friends, even the great team that we have here at ECA. Like being around people who are like-minded, who want the same things as you, that are as driven as you are. Because I think everyone's going to struggle with this at some point. They're going to run into friends or family members who are not on board with what you want in your life, and that can hinder you, and you can sort of again be led to analysis paralysis, going, oh, if I do this thing, it might trigger this person, or people might not support me. So have a good environment of people around you. And a question we had at the summit one year was, how do you deal with the naysayers, the people who don't support you, the people who like to pull you down? And for me, the only people you should listen to are people who are in the position that you want to be, and the people who are closest to you. But also realize you don't need to take that advice either. It's okay to listen, absorb, and the Dunning-Kruger effect we talked about, but then still you're the person in charge of your journey, your destination. So you can listen, you can take in information, but it's what you do and what you decide with that. And if you have good people around you, I guarantee you're going to follow more of that advice than the negative or the naysayers.
Yeah, and I suppose just to touch on that, not everyone is going to have the luxury of being in a good environment, in a sense of a progressive environment and a positive environment. Sometimes you might find yourself in amongst people who aren't on the same path as you, or who aren't as ambitious as you. And I think what's really important is that if that is the case, well then you need to be stronger than their lack of ambition, right? Because they are going to try to drag you to their level. And one saying that I love is the rising tide lifts all boats. And so in that case, what you have to do is stick to your values and challenge the people who are bringing you down, and say, here, listen, that's not how I do things. If that's the way you want to do things, by all means, you crack on. But how I do things is in this way, and I'm going to keep doing that. And if that's not something that you can gel with, well then, we'll go our separate ways, essentially.
Just as John had mentioned there as well, it's everyone is dealt a certain hand. We came from an area that is very, impoverished. It's poor working class scenario, and it would have been very easy to turn to drink, drugs, crime, whatever it may be. But ultimately, all of it. But ultimately, you're the person that makes the decision, because I actually run into someone who was like, listen, do you know what? You could have went that way. And I never thought about it like this, because that's what other people were doing, friends and so forth. But I ultimately made the decision that I wanted something better for myself. So that, in effect, helped me, because I decided, no, this isn't for me. I don't want to be led. I don't want to go down this path. I have bigger ambitions, bigger goals. And then you tend to seek out those people. Like, the great thing about what we have with the academy and at the gym as well, when I'm coaching people, I tend to coach people who run businesses or who are, you know, high sort of flying in terms of their industries, because I love feeding off their energy and their buzz, because it enthuses me, and it makes me go, this is great, rather than being around those people who are, you know, maybe more negative, or as John was saying there, who are basically trying to take you down.
If shit burnt down tomorrow and everything went tits up, what would you do differently than what we did previous, or would you not do anything differently? Would you do exactly the same things all over again?
Very good question, because there was a time where we thought we would have to start over again, and I remember going home and speaking to my partner at the time, and she was like, you don't seem too upset. And I was like, do you know what? I know the mistakes that I made. I know what I would do different. And I also now have acquired the skills that will make me successful again, because I know when we started, you're driven by fear of failure. You know, like, I don't want to lose a business, or I don't want to go out of business because of what people will think about me, or all these different scenarios, where now it's like, do you know what? Like, I have the skills, I have the, you know, aptitude to be better than what I was before, and now I'm not hindered by the mistakes that I made previous. So I would say I would feel like I'm in a far better position. But if I was starting off again, with all that I know, the things that I would be focusing on is customer service, 100%. Like, making sure that I can get my clients amazing results, because there's a lot of people out there who talk a good game, but if you can't back it up, then you're going to be in trouble. And again, it's just, we're in a world where social media is so prevalent, whether you use X, whether you use Instagram, whether you use Facebook, any other platforms, TikTok, like, you have to be out there and you have to be seen. You know, 20, 30 years ago, you could have done like a leaflet drop, or you could have done an advertisement, where nowadays you need to go where your clients are, or where they possibly could be. So I would be going all out in terms of advertising and marketing, and again, speaking the language of those people. So yeah, if I was starting off again, I would niche down to the people that I wanted to work with. I would be advertising and getting out in front of them as much as possible. I would make myself an authority by actually getting these people results continuously. A lot more testimonials and reviews, because that's only going to build your confidence, and obviously show the rest of the world that you are that authority in your field. And what was the last one I would say? Yeah, no, I think that would be it. Well, what about you? If you were starting all over again, what would you do?
Do you know, like, this is not even a joke. I would actually fucking love it. I'm not shit. Like, I would love to have the opportunity to start from scratch, because I say this all the time. I would almost bet, right now, this is going to sound a little bit arrogant, but I would almost bet that within 3 to 6 months, I would have a gym up and running and fully functional again. And the reason for that is because, all right, so we've been, you know, it's been the same place essentially, but we've expanded 3 times. So we have opened 3 gyms. And not only that, I have the experience of helping other people open gyms. So I've kind of gone through the process now around about 25 times. And so sometimes I'm kind of just like, I want to do this again, right? Yeah. Obviously I'm not, like, we're happy in this place and whatever, but part of me would be like, I sometimes wish that I could go right back to the start. And if that was the case, having had the experience, and how I would go about that now is the same as I tell anyone else to do. now today, the first thing that I would do is I would reach out to 5 people and just be like, here, listen, I'll train you for free. As long as you're reliable, as long as you show up, and I will get you in the best shape you've ever been in your life, right? And that's the level of conviction that I would bring to the table. And I would say, on the condition that you give me a referral and a testimonial, and that I can use your photos before and afters as social proof. And whenever we done that, by the way, I would do it for free. Like, I would over deliver for those people, because I know for a fact that those 5 people would tell 2 people each, and then that's another 10 people, and then that would compound from there. And it would start with getting people in incredible shape. And you know, now today, it's actually, like, what people don't realize, that it's easier to do marketing than at any other time in human history. Like, before social media, if I got people results like that, I had to post it in a magazine or a newspaper or something along those lines. Whereas now, you can go and post someone's results on multiple platforms. Thousands of people can see it, thousands of people can comment on it. You can then get into conversation with the people that comment on it. Like, it is so easy now today, it is ridiculous. And so I think that that's part of the reason why I would be like, I would love to go through that, because it's so fucking easy, like, genuinely, because of all the tools that we have available to us. And what I would change would be, I would probably just do it a lot faster. Like, even though we talked about
feel faster,
even though we talked about, you know, making decisions, quick decisions, and everything else. Like, not only would I have a gym open within 6 months, I would have an academy opened again. I would be running events again. You know, I would have a franchise. I would have all of that within a much shorter space of time, because whenever we opened the gym, it took us maybe 6 years to open the academy and scale the gym, and then it took us 4 years to scale the academy, and then it took us 3 years to scale the mastermind, 1 year to scale the franchise. And so what has happened is, with our experience, every time we add something new, a new arm to the business, it scales a whole lot faster than what it did previously. So, all right, you know, we're not starting everything all over again, but we actually have started new businesses, and because of our experience, the process has just gotten a lot faster, and so I suppose that's evidence enough that it would just happen again.
Yeah, 100%. Well, let me ask you this question, right? If you have a student who's coming through the academy who hasn't got the resources to invest in a mastermind or whatever it is, what would be your tips of them to get their first couple of clients, get results with them or whatever it is? What would your advice be then?
I think, number one, you have to get clear on your own level of conviction and enthusiasm. And the question you have to ask yourself is my product the best opportunity that someone's got of getting results and keeping results? And the answer is always yes, because at the end of the day, we're coaching people, and that is exactly what people need. Other ways people revert to, you know, crazy tactics like fucking freeze your fat and vibrators for weight loss and all of this here shit, right? So,
I use that one.
Yeah, you use that one. so it's like, get clear on your intentions, and if they're perfect and you're clear on doing the right thing, well, then that's going to increase your level of conviction, in which case then I would literally say start harassing people then. Because if you don't harass people, well, then your competitors, as in all of these quick fix things, are going to get to them first. And so that's the battle that you're going to have to fight. So do that first, check yourself first, check your intent, and then, like, be unapologetic about harassing people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, if you don't have the credibility and the experience behind you at the start, well, then you're going to have to, you know, come down off your fucking high and mighty throne and accept the fact that people are not going to be, you know, over enthusiastic about wanting to hand you their money at the start. And so you're just going to have to realize that, you know, get off the high and mighty syndrome and just be like, right, I'm going to torture you until you work with me. Because that's what we did. Like, we just tortured people until they worked with us, and we got them great results. And so that then escalated from there. But you have to drop your ego in the beginning in order to do that, to get people results, to show social proof, and then it moves from there. So that would be two things that I would say to them is get clear on your intentions, drop your ego, and then from there, like, be willing to absorb criticism from other people, because you are going to get that at the end of the day. It's part and parcel with entrepreneurship. What is it? Hatred is a condition of success. So the more you grow, you're going to attract people that won't want to see that, and so you have to be ready for that as well.
That's a really important point that John was talking about. Usually when you pass your PT course, and this is why we believe at ECA and the Academy that this job is a practical based job, you build your reps and you put the hours in on the gym floor. So when you're coming through ECA Academy and you're coaching people and different people every single time, you're putting the reps in. So when you leave, you have that courage of conviction to say that, hey, listen, I can give people results. I know I can. But if you try and do that online and you walk into the real world, you're going to have an identity crisis, a confidence crisis. I don't know, will this actually work? Because the reality is completely different. You've looked at a computer screen and you walk in, and now you're dealing with a human being that's got emotions and feelings, and you have to go, shit, how do I get this person to do what I want them to do?
It's not imposter syndrome. You're actually fucking shit.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? So, like, the first thing we always hear from people is they feel like they have imposter syndrome because they're like, I don't know if I'm good enough. And for us, that comes down to experience and, as John had said, that courage of conviction, but that only comes from putting the reps in. You can't do that behind a screen, hitting the space bar.
Outwork yourself out.
Yeah.